In 8th grade, I was in a play where I was one of 3 musketeers.
I love movies, I've watched a lot of movies, but I've never tried it, so maybe this is the time to prove that Morgan Stanley is the place to be.
I took a theater class in my undergrad to fulfill my fine arts requirement, but yeah, it wasn't very intense.
Gosh, I don't have any theater experience.
It's a 6-minute play that they're creating from yesterday to today. It has certain restrictions. They have to use certain props and no other things. They have 5 or 6 lines that they have to say and no other lines. So there's all these things that they have to do, condense it into 6 minutes and create their own play from that.
So from the beginning of class, it was like, is he serious? We only have an hour, 24 hours to put this together.
This is really tough. This is not what we thought we would be doing. My reaction was, oh God, what did I get myself into? One piece of paper, so many constraints, just 2-3 lines, and we have to make some sense out of this. My first thought was panic.
How are we going to put together a story with, like, let's say, 7 things that we can say? And we have to say all those things, and we can only say those things.
You had to deal with the limitations you were given, the different ideas that everybody was coming to the table with, and the fact that you only had 24 hours to put all of that together. So there was a lot of chaos in the beginning.
So there's all these things that they have to do, condense it into 6 minutes and create their own play from that. They're picking some place on campus which will be the best setting for their play. So we'll be following them around today to wherever they go to present their plays.
There was this one line, my boot. Now with this 2 words, my boot, what do you do with these 2 words and amongst other constraints? So we've used it as a song. My boot, my boot, my boot, my boot, my boot, and it became a hit.
My boot, my boot. I don't think I'll ever forget. She basically broke out of her shell.
The actual process itself was a lot of fun. Once we sat down, the ideas just started flowing. It started off with one guy saying, let's be in a boat. But, oh yeah, a boat. Boat sounds great, we're in a boat. And then you just kind of made the story up, but you kept looking, well, what don't we have? I said, oh, someone has to fall off now. Let's fall off now. So by the time you got it done, you're like, hey guys, we have a story that has all the constraints in it. And when you had no direction but just a set of rules, it's a little nerve-wracking for, I think, MBAs and engineers, because we're like, well, how do I get from point A to point B? You didn't give me a process to figure it out. So making up my own process was the first, I think, why I was so panicky. I didn't know how to do it. And just figuring out together, I think, was part of the whole process of the class, I think.
The very first day when we met Dean Bruner, he told us to kind of put ourselves in uncomfortable positions. Well, we expect that every day is going to be uncomfortable in this class.
Okay, let's put this room back just the way it was. And so we're going to kick down. And then we're going to the loading dock. We're going to rehearse today. We're going to rehearse during class tomorrow. We're going to perform the first class next week.
Seeing performance as not just what goes on the stage. Seeing performance as what goes on behind the stage. And the importance of rehearsal. The importance of more rehearsal. The importance of even more rehearsal. And they have to do things like learn lines, give each other feedback, act as directors. And so it really, enmeshes them in the idea of theater.
We just actually picked our play. It's called Miss Julie. It's a short 10-minute play.
A dare. I came up to the 2 of us and said, let's find a play where both of you are lusting after me.
There's a huge book of 10-minute plays, and there are a few other books. We had a library to go through.
Yeah. A lot of lines to learn. There's a lot of highlighted yellow.
Yeah.
So what I need you to do is I need you to be present. I know you're worried about lines, all that sort of stuff, but I need you to be present for what everybody else is doing.
If you weren't present and engaged in it, it wasn't gonna work.
They're going to direct, I don't direct. I mean, we're there to facilitate them and to be a sounding board, but they direct and act and so forth.
I thought directors had to say, stand over there to the left 5 paces. Now make sure you tell her the following words. Nope, that didn't work out right. Go back and do it again. But then as the class went on, I saw that, and I think Randy led by example, the type of directing that we were more so going for. And I look at it more as a coaching style, more of an empowerment style.
One thing about directing the director-actor relationship, it gets a little trickier. Now you're learning these plays, learning the lines, working out character and so forth. And actors will talk amongst each other about different things and ask questions, but actors should not give other actors direction. it can get fragile there. So, I mean, obviously you discuss stuff, but let the director be the eyes and ears of the production.
I didn't realize that once you're part of a team, like if you're directing something, although you're not on stage, you feel that you belong to the team and you want to cheer for them. Like if the audience is not laughing on a joke, I'm like, why aren't they laughing? And if they're laughing on something, oh yes, it worked. You know, that kind of enthusiasm, I felt it for the first time because I was off stage and watching my team do something great.
I love it. I just love it. I think it's something that we don't get to do in business school whatsoever, you know, where cases and where numbers and expression and literature and art is just not anything that we're able to do pretty much for 2 years, and you kind of put, lock it away in a cabinet for later, for when you're done with business school.
I've had classes with lots of these people, and I've never seen this side of them.
I hope some of the reasons for doing the course are even clearer for you now. We'll try to articulate this later.
The final exam is public performance.
We're going to be writing this thing, let's think about how we're going to do this, and we kind of had been emailing back and forth on ginormous emails about what is the topic going to be, where is this going to take place, how are we going to sort of land on some subject that we can all write separate scenes about that will flow together into one larger performance.
If you just let the students write, it unlocks their creative process. But it's very hard to put together a coherent performance with that. So we've moved to the idea of picking a theme for the writing. It's a little bit like the Jacobian exercise, where the theme serves as a constraint. The process that we use to do that is really kind of an emergent process. People talk about themes, they run email streams about what they think they can do, and eventually we get down to kind of a hard half hour of let's pick something and do it.
Well, the story talks about like lost friendships, lost love, reconciliation.
There was like a top 5, and it was like a gym, and it was an emergency room, and so the day before we decided, boom, emergency room. Now that night we were to sort of think about ideas, possible scenes that we'd be interested in. The discussion had been, an emergency room would be great because we can have births and deaths and weddings and disasters, but also happiness, and there's this whole range of emotion, and there's this whole realm of possibilities of scenes that could take place potentially in the exact same room.
So it's a newly minted mother, and it turns out that in fact the father, the unacknowledged father of the child, is the nurse's son.
The guy who's dying has been kind of outcast from the family for many years because of something shameful he did in the past.
This desperate wife has been trying to get it from her husband for a long time. Finally replaces the horny goat weed that she told him he was going to give him with a small blue pill. And I am arriving at the ER having taken this pill, and it's hours later, and it's still persistent.
Yeah, let's pursue these strips. Key on this is you really don't have much time. It's going to be simple. Right? Keep it, the setting, as simple as we possibly can. Let the audience use their imagination.
Then getting ready to graduate, and here they are writing a play.
And they're going to spend the majority of their time in the next 3 weeks in here.
Yeah.
Doing this play. They don't know that yet, but they will.
I mean, I think the writing was people were motivated to do that because it's interesting and fun to do.
The action for today is to just work on your scenes. So disperse, go do whatever it is you need to do.
Those were some of my ideas, but having said that, I'm open to I don't know if you have any ideas of your own.
I think the most consistent comment to everyone's scenes were, we have no idea who you are. Because as the author of the scene, you know who you're supposed to be. It's hard to hear and it's hard to say.
The individual scene, it's been a little bit difficult just because we've been trying to figure out contextually what this play is going to be about, and we've had a lot of iterations.
We can tell there's some personality rubs here, and there always are. And they have to get past that, if they don't, they have to get past that.
Some groups it's easier to get past that than others.
It's been, with the short amount of time to put something together, it's been emotionally draining, I think.
I'm hopeful at this stage, cautiously optimistic that it'll go well.
This might be it. It's going to be our final copy, and that's what I'm hoping.
People were kind of like, yeah, we'll get it done, you know, it'll all come together.
I'm still trying to learn my lines and make sure that this is as good as it can be.
The stage has been set up a little bit differently tonight. Clearly, doctor's room, waiting room, reception. The deal is this.
We had some knocks when we did the tech rehearsal, you know, people are stumbling over and, you know, then you do the dress rehearsal. That's when it crystallized. We really need to do this.
Do at 4:30 do kind of a tech rehearsal, which is you do the first line of the play, of the scene, you do the last line of the scene, you do the transition. It's easy to founder on that stuff. You know, I mean, it really is.
That one was a complete nightmare. It was a complete and utter disaster.
The moment you realize you're working with a team of 24, you have to be able to accept changes.
Doing the dress rehearsal and realizing that this is it, guys, this is your last chance before you have to go on stage, galvanized people.
It was the feedback I got that night. It was the storytelling that I found out from my classmates, what lost their attentions, what really resonated, what worked and didn't work, that really started transforming our stories.
A couple of things before we take it back. Now, one of the things that will undoubtedly happen is that audience will laugh at stuff that A, is not supposed to be funny, right? And you can't break character when that happens, right? You guys have worked incredibly hard, and this is going to be awesome, and you're first of all going to do it for each other.
Because there was great camaraderie at the end, and actually coming into the final performance. I think in a sort of game day approach, we came together more as a group, and then at the end, I think people were really pleased to have done it and really pleased to have worked with people, and I think knew each other a lot better.
You know, it's like, no, actually, I would do this again in a second. And if I wasn't able to be in this class, I would be sitting in that audience so mad that I wasn't able to participate.
If I get by the first 2-3 minutes and I keep the audience serious, I think I'll be fine.
This is the best part, where you wonder, is anybody really going to show up at this?
Time to rock and roll. Let's do this.
One other thing, you guys have some great stories. Let's tell a story.
We're gonna rock this show.
Let's do it. All right, let's go. Coming out to support your fellow community members. You're about to see something extraordinary. When you think of MBAs, you generally don't think of actors and theater and writers and this entire creative side that all of you have. We've spent the last 7 weeks exploring that side, and what you're going to see literally didn't exist 3 weeks ago. The company has written, produced, directed, and will perform the world premiere of Emergency. Please join me in welcoming the Q4 Darden Theater Group.
What are you going to do when you get the news? We all know it's coming at some point. It's just a matter of when and where. And we're going to see what you're going to do. And we're going to see who you're going to be.
I know how you must feel.
I don't think you do.
What is your gut feeling telling you?
Dille che sto male, non ce la faccio più, sto male, diglielo.
How can it be over? How can this be it?
What they managed to put together as a coherent final performance, and it was funny, and it was deep and sad, it was sexy, it was fully human.
It's getting up and it's about presentation and delivering a message.
and how you convey those feelings to an audience and how it can be interpreted differently from each audience member.
If you're in teams, you better be nice, because you will need their support to pull something off. You cannot do everything alone, and we did not do anything alone in this class. Everything was because someone else took that extra step.
With a theater class, I didn't immediately see the linkages to business or leadership. Find so many linkages, whether it's dealing with people, working as a team, trying to lead in a constructive way versus a non-constructive way, that I'm really shocked I didn't see it all in the beginning.
It was a low-risk environment. We were 24 people. We could experiment different styles of working in teams.
Even if people appear at first glance to be the same and in the same bucket or same group, actually you need to react to them differently in order to get them confident and in a position to deliver.
When we were acting, obviously we were sitting on the front rows, seeing our own peers acting, and I was really nervous. I was more nervous for them to like work, and I wanted, when it was funny and people laughed, I felt like good, they were supposed to laugh there.
It was all about teamwork, and it doesn't end here, it starts here.